This episode of Dispatches from Planet Albany is brought to you with support by New York State United Teachers, which represents more than 600,000 educators and school-related professionals in New York. Dispatches is also supported by the public affairs firm O'Donnell & Associates. For more information, check out o'donnellsolutions.com.
It was also increasing the cost. I suppose, ironically, it was also ensuring the children lived longer. And damn it, when children live longer, they cost more money over time.
I've also declared war on potholes, so here's the first shot across the bow.
Well, as you know, with Planet Albany, there's always something that makes the planet turn.
And it's this amazing view of D.C., and Eddie Vedder comes out. And he goes, "You have a cigarette?" And I've never smoked in my life, but if I had, I wish that was the moment.
And this strategy takes us from potholes to knotholes.
I would like to say it was a pleasure, Mr. Kim. But I'm on the road.
I'm David Lombardo, and this is Dispatches from Planet Albany, a podcast about policy and power in New York State government. And on today's episode, we're turning our attention to the New York Working Families Party, which had a busy February that included a decision not to back a Democratic primary challenge to Governor Kathy Hochul in what seemed like the final nail in the campaign of Antonio Delgado, R.I.P. And a few days later, it was announced that the downstate co-director, Anna Maria Archila, would be departing for the Mamdani administration. So all of that movement raised some obvious questions, and then there's the rest of the election season to discuss. So we spoke remotely this week with Jasmine Gripper, the now sole director of the Liberal Third Party. So I want to start with an autopsy of sorts from the recent WFP state convention, and actually begin even before it began. And I'm curious, did the Lieutenant Governor, Antonio Delgado, or someone from his campaign say explicitly or hint at the idea that his campaign for governor would basically have to be abandoned, as we saw it a few days after your convention, if he didn't get the institutional support of your party? Was that message conveyed in any way, shape, or form?
Not at all in that way. We heard aggressively and early from Antonio Delgado. We also heard early and often from, the Kathy Hochul camp. And both were seeking the support of the Working Families Party for the endorsement for the upcoming election cycle. And, Delgado did a great job of elevating key issues from tax the rich to the New York Health Act, and really choosing his campaign to elevate issues that were really important to our side for a long time, even on immigration, the New York for All. And the governor also engaged in real conversation about, what does it mean for someone who's in power to deliver right now for working families? And we saw her announce her investment in childcare, which was a significant investment this year. We heard her announcement on immigration, which is a step in the right direction. And so, we are in a political moment where the conditions are actively changing. The WFP convention had a really spirited and robust debate about both candidates, about the pros and cons of each, and what opportunities laid before us. And in the end, after, that debate, after that conversation, where I think a conversation so genuine like that can't happen in any other space except the Working Families Party. I think we are uniquely positioned to actually allow our process to play out. We didn't have an overly scripted convention. We had time for arguments and for people to...
I'll have to take your word for it, though, because it wasn't open to the public.
It wasn't open to the public. We knew it was going to be contentious. We weren't going in unified. Even our officer body, for the first time in a long time, wasn't unified in how to approach this endorsement. And what I will say is everyone at the party was grounded in who we are and what we fight for, which is we fight to win tangible change on behalf of working families. That is at core our mission. Where folks differed is what strategy got us closer to that. And so, there was an approach of let's challenge from the left, and Delgado's campaign offers an opportunity to do that. And then there were others that say, Kathy Hochul is working towards us, and we are building power more and more each day, but we don't have enough power yet to to win a statewide office and take out an incumbent governor, and she's going to be the governor for the next 4 years. And so how do we put ourselves in a posture to negotiate with her? And that allows us to win more for working families. And that was where the debate and the strategy was really in tension.
So let's talk then about the governor. And I want to address a hypothesis that I floated without any sort of sourcing, just my own Machiavellian mind. And this was the idea that the governor or her team may have indicated to the WFP that if you endorsed Delgado in this process and you supported his Democratic primary against her, that she wouldn't run on the WFP line in the fall, essentially denying you that threshold you would need to retain automatic ballot access. Her basically making this gamble that I don't need the WFP to win in New York if the Republican nominee is going to shoot himself in the foot over and over again, and we're in a blue midterm wave. So did any conversation like that happen? Was there any hints or allusions to the governor not running on the WFP line in the future?
I want to be clear. We weren't threatened about our ballot line. We
Not a
weren't
threat, a
pressured
promise.
Into anything. In fact, we know our value. Like, our line is deeply coveted all across the state.
Well, except for those purple communities where Democrats like proactively go out and say, I will not be running on the WFP line.
And what we find is when they do that, they win by, if they win, they win by really small margins.
Okay.
And it's still valuable. And I'll just like make it clear, Tom Suozzi in his last election.
You knew who I was talking about.
Yeah. And Tom Suozzi, with all the name recognition in the world, I can't even remember the Republican who ran against him, won by his narrowest majority in his career, where the WFP played a key role in the upstate congressional races where folks had our line. And in fact, we were the margin of victory for Josh Riley. And so the line is deeply powerful. And the reason why Kathy Hochul is still governor is because the WFP had her on our line and actually did the work to talk to voters to turn out. So like we are...
People might have voted for Kathy Hochul on the Democratic line if she didn't have the WFP line.
She was against, again, another no-name Republican who made a case for himself and really backed her into the corner. And the race was way more competitive than it should have been. And the party stepped up and did what we had to do to get her elected and to stop Republicans from gaining any foothold in our statewide offices. And so, like, we know our power. We know our leverage. We're not delusional and we don't overestimate our power. But we are clear that we are an asset and that our line is highly desirable. And the last thing I think this governor wants is that we are fighting for our survival, because what we did communicate is that we weren't going to go down without a fight. If there's any question about her taking our line, we would put a compelling candidate on our line and we will contend for the votes we need for the WFP survival. And they don't want that either. And so, you know, I do think sometimes people were like, Cuomo was in office for so long and Cuomo was such a bully in New York politics that we assume everyone operates like Cuomo. And I'll give Kathy Hochul credit that, like, she's not Andrew Cuomo. And she's not out here bullying people into compliance. And actually, I thought the approach she took and that her people took was like, where can we meet on the things we agree on? And what can be demonstrated where there's commonality? And we also heard like a willingness to listen to our side and to be in rooms with our people to hear what's happening, to hear their stories. And I think that's going to help continue to shape her politics and how she shows up. And so our folks are like, we want to win. We want to win tangible change. And the person who actually holds the power to like deliver for working peoples right now is Kathy Hochul. And so how do we build a relationship with her so that we can win for our communities? It's not about ego. It's not about, you know, puffed up relationships. It's about delivering for people who are struggling in this moment. And the person who has the most power to help deliver for working people, to relieve the pressure on people's back, to help deliver on the affordability agenda is the governor. And we want to be able to talk to her and move her.
But if this is a kinder, gentler governor who doesn't hold grudges or isn't about political retribution, what's the harm then in supporting Delgado, who on paper clearly aligns with more of the WFP values and thus could be used to hold the governor accountable and potentially leverage more campaign promises, except now
Are you supporting the like there's a good way to lose strategy?
I'm saying that
Like at the end of the day, let's be clear. Like let's be honest. Like Delgado's no longer in the race.
right.
Why? Why did like if his whole race was built on the WFP, like we're proud of our power and our influence, but you need more than the party.
4 years ago, Jumaane Williams ran a campaign solely based on the WFP and got 19% of the
Yeah.
vote. So why was that acceptable 4 years ago and not now?
So let's do a history because we did a history lesson in our convention
Sure.
and leading up to our convention. So one, Zephyr Teach Out was the first time we considered a challenge to the governor. And instead of running Zephyr Teach Out, the party extracted some promises from Cuomo. Cuomo reneged on some of those promises, so we came back and we challenged him with Cynthia Nixon. Cynthia Nixon ran a great campaign, so much so that her and Jumaane almost beat Kathy Hochul for lieutenant governor. But Cynthia had really, I was actually like one of her upstate deputy organizers for that campaign. I remember traveling the state with her, and she had clear goals. And we were running Cynthia to win for governor and to like defeat Andrew Cuomo. And we were defeating the IDC and elevating down ballot campaigns. And in the end, even though Cynthia lost, she got 30% of the vote. And the party was powerful. We won our down ballot races, right? We defeated the IDC, taking out 6 incumbents, senators in 1 year. That put the party in a really powerful position. Jumaane ran. He got, instead of having 30% of the vote, we went down to 18% of the vote. And then on the down ballot races, to be honest, at that time, we got our asses kicked. We took some big swings and we lost. And what was the result of that? Is like we came to Albany fighting for things and we were in a weaker position. And, our threat wasn't taken seriously. And we weren't able in the position to move things. And so we want to grow our power, not shrink it. And so taking weak swings doesn't help us. And so the party really debated, is this the best swing we can take at this moment? I wish we had unlimited resources. I wish everyone was giving to the party, but with limited resources, we have to make priorities. And so we are prioritizing some other races that we think are more valuable for the party's resources and time and capacity instead of a challenge at a governor who we believe is going to win. And I think it's not just about her winning, it's actively moving in our direction. And so we want to acknowledge that she's attempting to meet us somewhere. Will we get all the way there? That's to be determined. We're still pressuring her and taxing the rich. We haven't let go of those demands, but we are being strategic about our resources. And so swinging to swing is not a powerful position. We are a party that is about strategy and about using our resources well and making the most of every opportunity. And Delgado didn't feel like the best swing we can make in this moment.
Some challenges need someone who simply won't quit. Modern advocacy brings tenacity, strategy, and unwavering follow-through to every client it serves. Learn more at modernadvocacyllc.com. So it sounds like we should view this through the lens of pragmatism and not the other critique of the Working Families Party, which is more about, it's Democrats light. I mean, it sounds like you're still going to pick battles where you can advance more progressive candidates than who, the establishment Democratic Party might be pushing.
Yeah, the Dems are definitely going to be mad at us this cycle. I've already gotten angry texts from Democratic leaders who aren't happy with what we're doing. But we are our own political party. We make our own decisions. We will throw down with Dems when we have to stop Republicans. But when it comes to the strategy we talk about a lot in the party is called block and build. We need to block Republicans from gaining any stronghold. We need to block MAGA. We need to make sure we are doing our part to send, to hold the numbers in Congress and to swing it in the right direction. Our democracy is on the line. We have to actively block Republicans from any gain in New York. And we will do our part to do that. And we did our part last year. Battleground New York, the Working Families Party played in a major role in flipping 5 congressional seats from red to blue. So we will block. But we will also build. So we block Republicans where we can, and we build progressive power. We build having the most, our best person, our champions in office, having people who come from our communities, getting them into office. And we build those where we have inroads. And so, for example, A Josh Riley is a block. Do we love Josh Riley and everything he's done? No. But do we want Republicans to pick up that seat? Absolutely not, when the numbers in Congress are so tight. But you know what? We can do better than Dan Goldman in NY10. That is solidly blue turf. It is solidly WFP turf. We want Brad Lander in that seat. And so you can see Josh Riley as a block and you see Brad Lander as a build. And that is something that the party is constantly doing. We are strategic. We are mindful of every little thing, but we are absolutely not making decisions by threats or fear. We are brave, we are courageous, and we are ready to challenge the status quo. But we are doing it smartly, and we are doing it with an eye for winning and not just an eye for losing and losing well. Like that's not our goal. Our goal is building power to win for working families.
Well, I'm interested then in the coalition you see that the Working Families Party will be made up of moving forward, because sticking with a history lesson you brought up, the endorsements in 2014 and 2018 resulted in some unions pulling their support from the WFP. I remember 32BJ and the Communications Workers of America in, I think, 2018. But now you've got these affiliates who were out front supporting Delgado, Citizen Action, New York Communities for Change, etc. Are you concerned at all about holding on to those organizations as part of WFP's institutional support?
So the party is still made up of labor, community groups, and individuals. Like the proportions have changed, the numbers have changed, but we are still, we say the three-legged stool of, we have within our internal decision-making body, there's a labor component, there's community-based group component, and there are individuals who play a role. And I will say the beautiful thing about the party is our folks don't agree on a lot of, you can start at the governor, but you could work your way down sometimes to some of these local races. And our chapter meetings and our regional advisory council meetings get contentious. Like that is what it means to struggle and at a political party. And we have dissenting voices. We have people who don't all agree. We're not here to be a parrot of any one person. We are here to express opinions and views and fight for our communities. And we may differ on strategies while agreeing on the goal. And what our people always do is this is our party. This is the party of this is the People's Party, it's the Working Families Party, it is Citizen Action's party, it is NYCC's party, it is NYSIT's party. All of our affiliates, it is their party. And even though they don't agree with every decision 100%, it's not a reason to walk away. We struggle together, we learn together, we grow together, and then we continue to build trust and go on from there. And so, what happened before was, again, that was Andrew Cuomo meddling in party business. And, he was attempting, let's be clear, Andrew Cuomo was attempting to kill the Working Families Party.
Sure.
Right? He threatened labor to leave because that was resources from the party. He then created, remember, the Women's Equality Party, the WEP, to be on the ballot to confuse voters with the WFP.
Wait. You think he wasn't being genuine about his support for women equality?
About the man who created the Women's Equality Party?
Wow. Okay. This is, I got to rethink a lot of things.
Power with all of his sexual harassment. And then he raised the threshold of what it takes for us to stay on the ballot. But what I like to say is that after all of his efforts to kill the WFP is still here, powerful and strong, and Andrew Cuomo is not in office and not in power. And then, in fact, has been embarrassed multiple times, and the party's been there to help lead the way in handing him those defeats. And so we go through tension, we go through hard processes, but we still come out as a successful party, moving forward and building power for our people.
Well, how do you avoid then, moving forward, having maybe individuals or institutions that support WFP basically saying, I'm going to take my ball and go to the DSA. They are maybe more ideologically pure, or they're not approaching politics in the same pragmatic way, and thus some of these people feel more at home there. How do you avoid that siphoning off of support?
DSA exists and is doing a phenomenal job. I'm not even here to criticize or attack or be in competition with the DSA. They have a role to play in our politics. They are squarely focused on electing socialists in office. It's a much narrower project than the Working Families Party, which is working on building a governing coalition. And in order for us to like have a governing coalition, we need a majority. And so we are collaborating with the DSA and Socialists in Office as part of the WFP bloc. We are also collaborating with the Labor Democrats as part of our bloc. And there are a few Democrats who like don't agree with us on everything, but we can grab them on certain issues and pull them into our direction and have enough of a majority to win on a specific issue at a given moment. We do that. And so we have always cared about the governing majority and the governing coalition that we are building. And a lot of our affiliates acknowledge that, especially on a statewide basis and for a statewide office, the power doesn't come from the individual organization. The power comes from our ability to move as a collective. And that's what the party offers.
I mean, DSA was pretty impressive in terms of that New York City mayoral race.
Yes, they were impressive in running a great field game. They alone did not deliver that win, right? It took all of us working together and moving in the same direction.
And a social media phenomenon.
Yes, but the power is in the unity, right? The WFP saying, hey, all the progressive candidates, we're not going to have infighting. So no one was like throwing shade on Zoran from the left. That was really important to help him to maximize his potential. The cross endorsement from Brad was essential. So like the ecosystem moving in the right direction. Tish James, who was originally only with Adrian, then offering her support also to Zoran was critical. AOC, who also ranked him first. Like it's our ability to win big is never because any one entity is doing everything. It's because the whole left ecosystem and us also grabbing some new partners are able to all row in the right direction. And that's when we can deliver monumental transformative wins, right? We need the big tent in order to win. The left by itself, like we are a portion of the electorate. We're a good portion, but we're not the whole electorate and we're not 50% of the electorate. And so we got to know our power. We got to know what we have, and we're building towards that. There will be a point where we are 50% of the electorate. But until then, we have to build coalitions with people and we have to build power together. And that is our strength.
So let's talk about the leadership of the WFP right now. Your co-director, Anna Maria, is accepting a job in the new mayor of New York City's administration. So does that mean you just drop co from your title, or are you going to be searching for another partner to do this with? What does the future leadership of the WFP look like?
One, it's been an honor to lead the party for the last 2 years with Anna Maria, and we have had some great fights and accomplishments together. And so sad to see her go, but also really excited about what comes next as she's appointed to the the mayor's office of international affairs.
Freudian slip. It's okay.
The mayor's office of international affairs. And I am dropping the co as the director of the New York Working Families Party. And I'm excited to work with our officers, our labor affiliates, and our community groups to help continue to move the party forward. Like I said, we have some big swings we're taking. We're congressional races with Brad Lander, state senate with JGR, the Jessica versus Jessica battle. We announced some controversial assembly races already. So we're coming after Jamie Williams with Jabril in Brooklyn, and we're contending for Vivian Cook's seat with LaToya LeGrand. And so it's going to be an interesting and exciting election year. And then, of course, like we're not dropping our fight in Albany for the state budget and the tax the rich fight. And we are making sure we're keeping the pressure up to deliver for working families. And so there's a lot to do. We'll be doing some internal staffing changes and staffing up to make sure we still have the capacity to deliver the work we need to do. But the party is strong, and we're going to continue to be strong.
Is there anything that you want to do differently now that you are the sole director? Are there any things that you might have disagreed with Anna Maria about in terms of substance or style that is going to be different now that you are calling the shots solely?
Yeah, I mean, I think the scripture is like iron sharpens iron. Like we always want to like not being like, Jasmine has all the answers. Like I can do all things. So it's great to have Anna Maria to like really think about ideas with, and for us to go back and forth and land on solutions that actually made the most sense. And so I'm actually going to build my own kitchen cabinet of people to like continue to make sure that I have that, like those other voices to hear from and to make sure we are moving in the right direction. But like the party is committed to building in Black and Brown communities, We are not wavering on that. That's why I'm really excited about the Vivian Cook race. Like that's actually the district I grew up in. Vivian Cook lives like 2 blocks from my mom. And I'm like, yes, this is the part of Queens where the party isn't strong yet. But we've been tilling the soil. We've been talking to voters. I've been showing up at events there a lot. The party has been all through that community. And so I'm really excited to build our reach into more neighborhoods than the traditional voting block that we know of as the party. And so like Anna Marie and I started that work together, and I'm happy to really continue it and build it, and that we'll see the party growing to new parts of the city and across the state.
In terms of that kitchen cabinet, as you described it, are you going to be leaning for more New York City-centric people? Because, I mean, you mentioned growing up in Queens, but if I remember correctly, I think you call upstate New York home now. Maybe that's changed.
Yes, Albany's home too. I know I totally confuse people because I use home interchangeably. I'm like, home, New York City, home, my mom's house, home. Yeah, no, we are a statewide party. And like, I think it's actually really naive or foolish of us to like buy into the idea that New York City is the center of the world. And as like a New York City, like I'm born and raised there, went to CUNY, it is my forever home. I am so mindful of the whole state being dynamic, beautiful, and powerful, and the communities and champions we have there. And so the WFP in Buffalo is going to be fighting hard in some Buffalo races that we'll be announcing soon. The WFP in Rochester is strong. The folks in Syracuse are amazing. And it's been a pleasure to like continue to work with Sharon Owens since she's been elected mayor. There is more work to do across the state. And so I absolutely will not have a New York City only hat on as much as I love the city. And I think, Zoran is doing an amazing job. New York City is one of the big cities across the state, and the party will continue to have a statewide focus. And I think that's really important to our chapter leaders and members across the state who are holding down the work of the party.
Do you need to elevate any of the people who might feel a little unhappy with the nominating conventions to placate anyone? Is anyone going to get whatever it is to keep people happy? Are you going to be having to throw out any favors with the leadership now?
Well, this is quid pro quo.
Sure, yeah.
Listen, we are a political party, and compromise is something we're used to. And we are really excellent at finding ways to making sure we land at the right place. And so we're talking to our affiliates. We're literally in the middle of a ton of endorsements. We'll be announcing a lot next week, and we have work to do.
Sure.
And so we will work on rebuilding trust where that needs to happen, while also like we are about the people's business, and we don't have time to hold grudges. We don't have time to be in our corners. We don't have time to be stubborn or petty. We have time to do the work of the people, and that work starts right away. We have June primaries right around the corner. And again, like I said, we're taking some big swings. We got to back that up with our power. And we need our friends, our affiliates to be there with us.
In terms of endorsements, the DSA is, we'll say, selective about who they will support, right? Whereas the WFP supports a range of candidates with their party line. Is that going to be the case in 2026 as well? Or are you going to be a little more choosy about who ends up running on your line? Because I could see from one end, hey, we want everyone to have that WFP label, and so we can say X number of candidates got elected. But I could also see the case of being more choosy and being more defined by a political philosophy with your candidates. So how are you approaching that in 2026?
The Working Families Party has always had a rigorous endorsement process, right? So everyone who gets our endorsement, everyone fills out a candidate questionnaire. Everyone comes in and sits for an interview. Even the majority leader, Andrea Stewart-Cousins, has submitted her questionnaire and is scheduled for her interview. And so we have always had a robust and rigorous process. What the party has also done is accounted for considerations around what is unique to certain districts. And so you see WFP endorsements, not just in solidly blue, bluest of the blue turf. You see WFP endorsements in blue turf and in like purple turf. And so we're mindful of, do we have more in common with somebody, or do they hold our core values when we're giving a WFP endorsement, but they can't meet us all the way because of their district or because of something we disagree on. And so we're just mindful that we don't throw away people who are going to be in office, who we want a relationship with. Again, in order for us to build a majority coalition, we have to build a big tent. We have to be able to bring people together. And that is the unique superpower of the Working Families Party, that we are able to build that larger tent that is left to center and that is able to move progressive policy and win. At the end of the day, all of our decisions are rooted and grounded in winning real tangible change that benefit the lives of working families, right? And you can't do that if you just stay in your corner on the far left. And you don't do that if you just stay in the center. We are here to build the tent and to win big for our people, which is why the party was able to win increases to the minimum wage, paid sick days, paid family leave, right? Like we are all about winning and delivering for our folks. And it takes all of us to do so. And so our process will remain rigorous. I think there'll be some surprising endorsement announcements that come up. And, you know, the chapters and the racks and our members are all interesting and like they all have strong opinions. And we'll see if everyone who's applying for the endorsement, I'm 100%, everyone who applies for the endorsement does not get the WFP endorsement. And we sometimes sit out a race and say, no, thank you. But again, if you can hold our core values and there's more in common than we disagree on, the party can be there to help build with you and help fill in the gaps.
Well, lastly, when it comes to endorsements, I read in City and State that the plan in the comptroller's race is for some sort of endorsement as early as March. Where do things stand with that right now?
Yeah, so just want to be really clear that like our endorsement in the gubernatorial of a placeholder was us saying, not Kathy, not Delgado. Our decision for a placeholder in the comptroller had nothing to do with critique of Tom DiNapoli specifically or anything about any of the other candidates. It was simply time and capacity. As a political party, we have to make decisions by a certain deadline according to state law. And we had spent so much time debating, arguing, presenting information on the gubernatorial race that we actually didn't prepare our folks or present information or any adequate information on the comptroller's race. And people felt like they weren't prepared to make an informed decision. And so we have like a whole presentation geared up for our people on what's the role of the comptroller. You know, let's be real. There are criticisms of Tom DiNapoli. What are those? And what are the ones that are actually legit? And is there room for him to move on? And who are these other people? Are they like trustworthy folks? You know, I think part of like the comptroller's race in New York City surface, the difference between New York City and New York State, which is in New York City, there's a board that the comptroller has to be responsive to. But in New York State, Tom DiNapoli is like the sole authority about how we use the pension funds, which I think it's a democracy issue. We should fix that. I don't think any one person should have that much control over one of the largest pension funds in the country. But also that means whoever is in that role needs to be, above all else, someone we can trust, a public servant with a record of integrity. And so like, who are these other people who are running for comptroller? What is their record? Are they trustworthy? Are their criticisms of Tom DiNapoli valid, or are they like pie in the sky? And so like, we want to have a rigorous discussion, an honest debate. And so we're going to do that. And so our decision to put a placeholder was just to buy us some time and activate the ballot line. But we will make an endorsement in this race, and we will make that announcement in the coming months.
Does Raj Goyal's track record in Kansas disqualify him from getting the WFP support?
We are going to share that information with the voting members of our state committee, and they will get to decide.
So is that a coy way of saying probably?
You never know. Our folks, they will consider everything, but like it is something that we are aware of, and we're making sure our folks are aware of it too.
You brought up the handling of the pension fund. Is there anything else that you'd want to see movement on from State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli? Are there things that he could promise or pledge to work on that you think are important for a comptroller? Do you have a laundry list with you ready?
A laundry list. I think that the two biggest things on for our folks are, one, climate justice, right? How are we leveraging the pension fund to divest from dirty energy and fossil fuel to clean and renewable energy? And I think there's, thinking about foreign investments and where there's war and tension, that our dollars aren't being used to participate in any war, and making sure that, again, that we have a moral responsibility as well with the investments we're making. And that's actually not a critique of Tom. I just know those are the two most important things to our people is considering where our money is going in the globe, and also how we are either contributing to the climate crisis or actually aiding it. And because it's such a large part of money, it can be influential to the entire ecosystem in a way that other pension funds and other, movement ideas aren't as impactful. It's what we know for sure is the fossil fuel and oil industry respond to money, and what the banking industry responds to is money. And the comptroller is responsible for a large part of money, and that's leverage to extract things on these key issues. And where the federal government is failing at its responsibility to protect our environment, we want to use every point of leverage we have possible.
Well, on the climate change front, there's a former gubernatorial candidate that some of your members might be interested in exploring in the future. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have. We've been speaking with Jasmine Gripper. She is now the director of the New York Working Families Party. Jasmine, thank you so much for making the time, and congrats on the title, and good luck ahead.
Thank you for chatting with me. And I did check in with Chantel after I heard your interview with her. I listened to the podcast.
Well, thank you for listening, too.
Great being here.
I do not understand why that is so objectionable. Do you not support that man who has said these things?
Mr. Goodell, why do you rise?
Would you remind the Speaker, if he would, please, to focus his discussion on the bill that's in front of us, as opposed to unrelated political comments that are inaccurate or derogatory. Thank you.